Toyota just built an engine that runs on plain water instead of gasoline. Sounds impossible, but their engineers claim it could make fuel stations obsolete forever. And the way they pulled it off changes everything we thought we knew about cars.
At least, that is the version of the story that flooded social media in early 2023.
It came with slick videos, a glowing prototype, and a headline that spread to millions of screens in a matter of days. A car that drinks water from your kitchen tap and turns it into clean, silent power. No more oil, no more emissions, no more waiting in line at a gas station, while the numbers on the pump spin faster than your heartbeat. The clips looked convincing. A sleek sedan, badged with the Toyota name, sitting in a spotless lab. A narrator explaining how a single tank of ordinary water could carry a family across an entire country. Engineers in white coats nodding along. Charts, diagrams. Confident voices promising that the age of fossil fuel was finally over, and that one of the biggest car makers on the planet had just quietly killed it.
Within a week, the story had jumped from small blogs to major feeds. People argued in the comments.
Some celebrated the end of expensive fuel. Others called it the greatest breakthrough since the electric motor. A few asked the obvious question that nobody seemed to want to answer out loud. If this were real, why hadn't every news channel on Earth stopped everything to report it? Because here is the thing. Water does not burn. Anyone who paid attention in a school chemistry class knows that water is already what you get after you burn hydrogen. It is ash, chemically speaking.
Asking it to power an engine is like asking a pile of cold ashes to start a fire on their own.
And yet the videos kept multiplying, the numbers kept climbing, and the Toyota name kept getting attached to a claim the company itself had never actually made. So where did this engine really come from? Who built the story? And what exactly was hiding behind that glowing prototype in the lab? To understand where the fake began, you have to go back to something Toyota actually did announce, because that is the seed the rumor grew from. In 2021, Toyota rolled a very real vehicle onto a racetrack in Japan, a Corolla Sport, modified to run a combustion engine that burned hydrogen gas instead of gasoline.
It roared. It had a tailpipe. It even needed refueling stops that lasted longer than the team wanted.
And crucially, it did not run on water. That distinction is where the whole story tips over. The car burned hydrogen, a highly flammable gas that has to be produced, compressed, and stored under enormous pressure. Toyota's own chairman, Akio Toyoda, drove that racing car himself publicly, as a bet that gasoline engines could survive if you just changed what you fed them.
It was a headline-grabbing experiment about keeping engines alive, not a magic trick that turned tap water into fuel.
But somewhere in the retelling, two completely different ideas got welded together. The first was Toyota's hydrogen combustion engine, which is real. The second was the century-old fantasy of a water-powered car, which is not. Merge them, add the Toyota logo, and you get a claim that sounds official enough to fool millions. An engine that supposedly sips water and gives back horsepower. The confusion had help. Hydrogen can be pulled out of water by splitting it apart, a process called electrolysis. So the chain of logic in the viral videos went like this. Water contains hydrogen. Hydrogen can power an engine. Therefore, water can power an engine. Each step sounds reasonable on its own. Strung together, they hide a problem so large it sinks the entire idea. And that problem has a name. It is the single reason no engineer at Toyota or anywhere else has ever built a car that truly runs on water, no matter how many times the internet insists otherwise. To see why, you have to follow the energy itself and watch exactly where it disappears. Follow the energy, and the illusion collapses in a single equation. To rip a molecule of water apart into hydrogen and oxygen, you have to pour energy in. Then, when you burn that hydrogen to move a car, you get energy back out. But the amount you get back is always less than the amount you spent splitting the water in the first place. Every real machine loses some energy as heat, friction, and noise.
There is no exception, no clever trick, no secret Toyota patent that beats it.
So a car that made its own hydrogen from its own water tank would be spending more power than it produced, it would slow down and die, not drive forever. This is not opinion. It is the second law of thermodynamics. The same rule that says a perpetual motion machine cannot exist. Patent offices around the world have refused for over a century to even review devices that claim to produce more energy than they consume. The water engine is that exact forbidden dream wearing a Toyota badge. And that badge matters, because Toyota's actual bet was the opposite of magic.
The company looked at the world's massive investment in electric batteries and decided not to put all its chips on the same square.
Instead, it spread its money across hybrids, pure electrics, and hydrogen, both hydrogen fuel cells and those experimental hydrogen combustion engines on the track. It was a calculated hedge by a company that sells more than 10 million cars a year and does not gamble lightly. Toyota even sells a real hydrogen car to the public, the Mirai, but it does not carry a water tank. It carries pressurized hydrogen gas, bought at a specialized station, and combines it with oxygen from the air to make electricity. Its only tailpipe output really is water. Notice the direction though. Hydrogen goes in, water comes out. The viral rumor simply ran the whole thing backward and called it a miracle. So if Toyota knows the science cold and never claimed any of this, one question sharpens into focus. Who actually planted the idea that the water car was real? And why did so many people desperately want to believe it? The person most people picture when they hear water car lived and died long before Toyota entered the story. His name was Stanley Meyer, an inventor from Ohio, who in the 1980s claimed he had built a dune buggy that could cross the United States on 22 gallons of water. He toured with it. He filmed it. He told television crews his device split water with almost no energy, releasing a fuel he called Brown's gas that powered the vehicle. Investors lined up. Meyer took their money and promised the technology that would end the oil age. But when two of those investors grew suspicious and sued, an Ohio court ordered his water fuel cell examined by expert witnesses. The verdict was blunt. It was nothing new, just ordinary electrolysis dressed up in mysterious language.
The court found Meyer guilty of gross and egregious fraud and ordered him to repay the investors.
His grand invention was, legally speaking, a con. Then came the part that fed 1,000 conspiracy theories. In 1998, Meyer collapsed and died in a restaurant parking lot after allegedly running outside shouting that he had been poisoned. An autopsy ruled it a brain aneurysm, but the timing was irresistible to believers, who decided the oil industry had silenced the man who could have set them free. The fraud conviction quietly disappeared from the legend. The martyrdom stayed. That legend is the real engine behind the Toyota rumor. Every few years, someone dusts off Meyer's story, wraps it in modern graphics, and attaches it to whatever car company is in the news. The template is always identical. A suppressed genius, a miracle fuel, a shadowy force hiding it from the public. All the viral videos did was swap Meyer's dune buggy for a shiny Toyota and update the year. Understanding that template explains why the hoax spreads so fast. It is not really about chemistry at all. It is about a story people already wanted to be true. And the moment you see what emotional need it feeds, you understand why no amount of physics has ever managed to kill it.
The emotional need is easy to name once you look at a fuel bill. People are tired of paying.
They watch prices at the pump swing wildly for reasons no ordinary driver can control. A conflict on the other side of the planet, a decision made in a boardroom, a pipeline that shut down overnight. Along comes a video promising a car that runs on the cheapest substance on earth, and the frustration finds a fantasy to attach itself to. The water engine sells relief, not science. It also feeds a deep suspicion that someone powerful is hiding a better world from the rest of us. That belief is powerful precisely because it is sometimes partly true. Corporations have buried inconvenient research before. So when a video whispers that big oil crushed the water car, it lands on soil already prepared to accept it. The hoax borrows credibility from real corporate sins to sell a fake one. The Toyota version got an extra boost from timing. It surfaced right as the argument over electric cars was tearing through the internet. Some drivers loved their electrics. Others complained about charging times, cold weather range, and the cost of replacing a battery pack. Into that fight dropped a supposed third option that made both sides irrelevant. Forget plugs, forget gasoline, just add water. The rumor marketed itself as the electric car killer, the thing that would end the debate everyone was exhausted by. And there was a grain of a real rivalry underneath it. Toyota genuinely had been slower than rivals to sell pure electric cars, and its executives openly questioned whether batteries alone were the right answer for the whole planet. Critics accused the company of dragging its feet. So a story about Toyota unveiling some radical non-electric breakthrough fit a narrative people were already telling, that the company was secretly working on something that would leapfrog batteries entirely. Put those forces together and the hoax almost writes itself. But wanting something to be true does not build it.
The real question is what happens when that fantasy collides with an actual laboratory, actual engineers, and the stubborn machines that either run or they don't.
Step inside a real hydrogen program, and you meet problems the viral videos never mention, because they are unglamorous and expensive. Start with the gas itself. Hydrogen is the smallest molecule in existence. So small it leaks through metal that would hold gasoline or water perfectly. Storage tanks must be engineered to withstand pressures around 10,000 pounds per square inch, roughly 300 times the pressure in a car tire. That is not a kitchen jug of water. That is a reinforced pressure vessel, built to survive a crash without turning into a bomb. Then there is the matter of where the hydrogen comes from. Today, the vast majority of it is not split from water at all. It is stripped from natural gas in a process that releases carbon dioxide, the very pollution the clean fuel dream was supposed to eliminate. So most hydrogen on the market starts life as a fossil fuel, wearing a green disguise. Making truly clean hydrogen from water requires enormous amounts of electricity, and that electricity has to come from somewhere too. The refueling network is thinner still.
A driver in Japan or California can find a handful of hydrogen stations if they plan carefully.
Almost everywhere else on Earth, there are effectively none. Building one station can cost well over $1 million. And each needs a supply chain of trucks or pipelines carrying that leak-prone gas across long distances. The convenience the water car rumor promised is the exact thing hydrogen struggles most to deliver. Even efficiency works against it. Take clean electricity and put it straight into a battery, and a large share of that energy reaches the wheels. Take the same electricity, use it to make hydrogen, compress it, ship it, then convert it back to electricity inside the car, and you throw away most of the energy along the way. On that scoreboard, the plug beats the pump badly. None of this makes hydrogen useless. It may yet win in trucks, ships and factories where batteries fall short. But it does explain why the just add water miracle was never on any real engineer's whiteboard. And it sets up the strangest twist of all. Because the hoax did not just mislead people, it quietly hurt the very future it pretended to promise. Here is the twist that turns the whole story on its head. The water engine hoax did not just fool gullible viewers. It poisoned the well for the real technology it was pretending to celebrate. Every time a sleek video promised a car that drinks tap water, it trained millions of people to roll their eyes the moment they heard the word hydrogen. So when Toyota, Hyundai, and a handful of others tried to talk about their genuine hydrogen research, they were now competing against their own fake headlines. The miracle version made the real version sound like a scam by association. And that is the answer to the question we started with. No, Toyota did not build an engine that runs on plain water. It cannot. Nobody can. The company that supposedly killed the gas station never made the claim in the first place. What Toyota actually did was far less magical and far more stubborn. It kept pouring money into real hydrogen combustion and fuel cells, while the internet handed it credit for a fantasy it had to keep denying. Watch how the rivals reacted, because that is the tell. If a water engine were even remotely possible, Volkswagen, General Motors, Hyundai, and every startup chasing the next big thing would have torn their laps apart to copy it overnight. Billions in profit hang on exactly this kind of breakthrough. Instead, they did nothing, because there was nothing to copy. Their silence was not a cover-up. It was the quiet, damning judgment of thousands of engineers who all know the same physics.
Meanwhile, the people who built and shared the fake collected the real prize: clicks, ad revenue, and channel subscribers.
The hoax was never engineering. It was a business, and its product was your attention. Each viral repost paid someone somewhere in the currency that actually moved. So the glowing prototype in that spotless lab, the one that started all of this, it was never a car. It was a story, carefully built to feel like a memory of the future you had been promised. And the moment you understand who profited from that story, the last piece of the puzzle finally clicks into place. The fake did not vanish after it was debunked. It mutated. Within months, the same footage reappeared with a Tesla badge instead of a Toyota one, then a Ford badge, then a nameless Chinese startup nobody could verify. The script stayed word for word identical. A secret engine, a suppressed genius, an end to the gas station forever. Fact-checkers at outlets around the world published corrections. They barely dented the numbers. A single debunking video reaches thousands. The original hoax reached tens of millions. While that circus spun, the real work kept moving quietly. Toyota pushed ahead with its actual hydrogen combustion engine, entering modified cars in 24-hour endurance races in Japan to test them under brutal stress. In 2023, the company announced progress on solid-state batteries, promising far longer range and faster charging within a few years. None of it involved pouring water into a tank. All of it involved the slow, expensive grind the miracle videos skipped entirely. Hydrogen itself found its real home, and it was not in your driveway. Steel mills, cargo ships, and long-haul trucks, machines too heavy or too far-ranging for batteries, became the places engineers now bet hydrogen might actually win. The fuel the hoax attached to a family sedan turned out to matter most in industries most drivers will never see. As for Stanley Meyer's dune buggy, the object that started the whole myth back in Ohio, it did not end up in a museum of suppressed genius. After his death, it was reportedly sold off, and the revolutionary device that was supposed to free the world from oil quietly disappeared into private hands, never reproduced, never verified, never driven across a country on 22 gallons of water. And that is where the water engine really lives today. Not under any hood, but in a recycled video file, re-uploaded every few months with a new logo pasted on, still collecting views from people who fill their tanks the same way they did 100 years ago. The next time it lands in a feed, it will almost certainly be wearing a badge that hasn't been used yet.